Perfect.
Not my budget, I just have the semi-annual.
Oh, gotcha.
Is that in there?
Well, is it?
I apologize, I wasn't here Friday, so
What are you not in there? I don't think.
do you have a copy?
No.
Like, it was in my, never mind. I get particular.
That's fine.
Say, I caught the minutes.
Thanks,
Hmm?
No, I caught the minutes.
Don't say that again.
What?
You need to say that.
Taking the day off?
Yeah.
Well, I wish it wasn't, I would have rather.
Did you want a copy of the semi-annual?
I was gonna do this today too, but I didn't get it done.
Courtney's gonna maybe put that form on.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
If you're okay with change, I might.
Okay, be fine.
Yeah.
I don't like
I like it.
unless there's lots of it, like.
I'll make sure I send it to
Yeah,
Rich then. First, he can be the guinea pig.
Who sent it?
I'll send it to Rich first then. Let him be the guinea pig.
I'll send that way.
Send it that way.
Thank you.
It's 9 o'clock. Everybody wants to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everybody has the agenda in front of them. I'm looking for approval of the agenda.
So move. Second. Third.
There's on a motion, a second and a third. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the minutes from January 17th.
I read them this morning. They read very well, so I will make a motion to approve them.
There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, first item on the agenda, ambulance department request. Good morning, Jamie.
Morning.
Morning, Jamie.
Looking for care pending most of it from the NACO relief funding. We put kind of a list together of some stuff that we would like to purchase that we would normally not be able to due to budget reasons. The packet was sent out on Friday and some of the things we want to do is we have 3 ventilators. 2 of those are able to be upgraded to have modes that are very commonly used with COVID. They basically almost any patient that we take out of St. Anthony's or any other facility that's on a vent is on this mode. We have to adjust settings and stuff to accommodate what we have available to us in our vents. So this would make things easier, provide better patient care and stuff like that. And then some video laryngoscopes. Currently, we do not have any of these. That's kind of the thing everybody's going to with these. I know Scott was down and we kind of did a demo. Generally, you're very up close and personal with the patient when you're doing it the way we do it now. This way, you can kind of step back a little bit and you have some room between you and the patient. That way, the possibility of us getting, transmitted COVID is a little bit lower. Still possible, but it is lower. But right now, we're asking for 2 to have for our main 2 ambulances. We would like to have 1 in each one, but if right now we're just looking for 2 if we can.
What are those called?
Video laryngoscopes. So generally, if we're intubating somebody, their head's here and you are literally right up in them, on top of them. You can actually stand back here and you can do it.
There's a
So, and
little
then it's got a
digital
big,
screen.
Yeah.
You can watch as you're putting it in.
it's a lot of services have them. And like I said, it's just something that normally with budget reasons, we can get by without them, but it'd just be a benefit to have them in our arsenal for our ambulance.
Amy, you think this falls underneath the COVID guidelines enough to use COVID money for it?
Yes, just kind of when I reviewed them, it basically in one of those papers that I sent, it has pretty much anything related to EMS response. So it's kind of like a blanket effect for EMS.
Pretty broad.
Yeah.
Did you see where it highlighted all the time?
Emergency
I
medical
don't.
response expenses, including emergency.
Yeah, it's fairly vague, but I mean, I will before purchasing, it would be something that I would definitely check with to make sure. And everybody that I've talked to has found that it's fallen.
I mean, to me, on the surface, it looks like a no-brainer to me, but just want to double check.
We have some carbon monoxide monitors. We currently do not have those available to us, and St. Anthony's no longer tests for that. So basically, if somebody's in a fire or if their carbon monoxide alarm's going off, this provides us the ability to test that at the scene, you know, and then it'll give us levels and it can kind of base where our treatment goes from there. And then it applies with COVID because it also has SpO2 monitor with it as a dual. Right now, the ones we have are they're single. You can only monitor the oxygenation in the blood. So I feel, again, that would be beneficial for us and also COVID related. But IV pumps, right now, whenever we take a transfer out of a facility, we're using their pumps because we don't have any. So sometimes if we take a transfer out of Manning or Audubon or wherever, we have to return those pumps.
Takes a return trip
Yep,
of some sort.
yep. Again, we're asking these are single line pumps. So we'd like to have 2 per rig. But again, we're just gonna ask for enough to fund enough for 2 rigs, our main 2 rigs that we staff. And then we have some equipment in there as far as the lines and stuff. Yeah, kind of the price of those. And then the Lucas device, I don't know if anybody's familiar with that. They are back savers. They're very good part to have as far as when it comes to a code situation.
How many of those do you have?
Right now we have 6. We have 1 ambulance in the county that still needs one. That's in Templeton. But they make things go way better than, you know, with this, it gives a constant compression. And the rate that it's at is constant. And, you know, with you have somebody like me or whoever doing it, you know, you're getting different depths, different rate, different, you know, and you get tired and you get tired in a hurry because it's a workout.
So you're talking, you got 6 already?
Yeah, there was some, when they first were sending these out, there was some grant funding and they, from what I understand, that's how we got 6 of them.
I remember Daryl coming with the
There
first
was-
board. Mhm.
But it's just, it'd be beneficial to have one in every ambulance in the county. Templeton's run numbers are steady, but slightly going up, and they do have, they only have like 1 paramedic in the staff. You know, a lot of it is the number of people that can respond to these calls is getting slimmer and slimmer. So that essentially you could almost take 4 people out of the situation because you have to constantly switch through.
Keep rotating.
Yep. And then the eye gels, they're a different style of Airway. Right now, we carry what's called a King Airway. Those can be, they're very easy to put in, but they can be somewhat damaging to the airway. This is you just basically stick it in and then you start breathing for the patient. It's not a definitive airway as far as it's not something that's gonna be left in forever, nor is the King, but these are more user-friendly than what the King Airways are.
We still have a room on them so that you can't backfeed.
Nope, they are like a gel base. And you put them in and they seal around your airway and
Well, they seal themselves.
yeah, just the way they fit in your oral cavity, they seal everything up.
Because the other ones you used to have to blow in and blow that ball.
Yeah, there's 2 bulbs on it and then you blow them up and it kind of conceals the airway that way. But right now we don't have any. It's just something that we're moving to or would like to move to. Ease of insertion for anybody that's on the call. The last main stuff that we'd like is just some funding for the PPE for the COVID related stuff. We get some of that through the county as far as through Sarah Anderson. But just be able to have some extra money available for that way it doesn't come out of our budget because we do go through quite a bit of it.
Have you talked to Sarah about this list?
I haven't talked to Sarah about this list. I talked to her the other day about some of the stuff that she has. From what I understand, they had quite a bit of stuff, but it was supposed to be being held, from what I understood from her.
I would think that emergency preparedness was did you ask her about that? If you can get dollars for this stuff?
I did ask her if there was any extra funding available for the PPE stuff. But, we talked about the other day about how much she has, and she has quite a bit right now, but things are, we talked, some of that stuff expires, so it needs to get sent out, and then that's gonna need to be replenished as well.
You need all this stuff right now.
We don't necessarily need it all right now. Some of the stuff is, the prices are going up, just as we talked last week with the ambulance. So, if the funding's available, yes, I'd like to order it as soon as possible, but it doesn't necessarily have to be right now.
I mean, it's really kind of unfortunate because we need people to talk to each other to know what's going on. And our public health nurse sent $10,000 back to the state simply because she didn't have any place to put it. If she would have contacted you, we could have made this bill $10,000 cheaper. So emergency preparedness has those dollars. Talk to Sarah about that grant that they get every year.
I just bought 2 new Packers with some of the coalition money. The ambulance was awarded $3,500, and that's when I purchased this. So we had a meeting here about a month ago, and we talked about that stuff, and I know we talked with Sarah as well. She said she doesn't have a place to go for money, but the way I understand it, you can't take money from one and put it to the other. If it's for public health, it has to stay with public health, from what I understand.
Well, no. When Marcia Schaefer was a public nurse, she went to the ambulance department all the time and purchased things for them. So check into that.
Yep.
There's definitely a funding path there.
Okay. For the above stuff that we talked about, that comes up to 49,606. Two other things are the pumps, and then another scope. We already kind of talked about that, but one of the other things is a different style of ventilator. The ones that we have, we cannot upgrade to provide this, and there again, the treatment plan is kind of going towards some of the other stuff that this ventilator can provide. With the high flow, and it works well with peds, and we've been seeing a lot more pediatric patients with respiratory illnesses. All in total, go ahead.
The availability of this stuff, is it some right now, some out quite a ways before we could possibly get it?
No, I've talked to the reps for most of these places, as well as Kenny Hansen has as well, but it sounds like everything's available. We had the rep for the video laryngoscopes in, and he said they have them available.
Okay. Because sometimes the way everything else is going.
Right.
it could be,
You basically request this that we utilize the COVID dollars for this.
Right.
I want to play devil's advocate. How much of this do you actually need? Or is most of this wish list?
We need it all. The stuff, like with anything that we have in our ambulance, there's some stuff that we use daily. There's some stuff that we use monthly. There's some stuff that we don't use for 6 months. But in preparedness, just what this money's for is what we're trying to do. And protect ourselves as well.
I guess my concern is that the main COVID dollars that we're getting, I think we're going to be spending pretty well for HVAC. How much other dollars do we have available? And then we have the project that's right the second behind you. That's going to be probably related to COVID dollars also.
So there's 2 different pots. We have the pot that we're kind of spending now. There's about $60,000 left in there. And there's another pot that we got from the state, and that was money that we utilized for Service Area 1 payroll. It's a couple $100,000. We haven't touched any of those dollars, so there's about $240,000 just sitting in reserves, and then another 60, I believe.
I guess what my point is, I know what's happening in other counties. They'll run and try to get this COVID dollars. And I guess what I'm going to say here is that I think our COVID dollars are gonna run.
I
very
think
short if
I think
we-
our recovery fund, ARPA funds, those are probably spoken for, but we do have CARES money.
3.8 million is spoken
Yeah.
for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, if you did everything that's on the initial stages of that project, it would be.
Yeah,
But there is CARES dollars still left, which is COVID related, and we'll be getting about $40,000 from the federal government reimbursing us
I
for.
guess my
stuff
point
too.
is the gate's been shut here first.
Well, at some point,
Well, what
but
about?
if we don't spend
And
those
and I'm not
dollars,
saying, you know, I
we'll
need
have
to.
to send them back.
No, no,
We'll
I'm
have
just
to
making a point that,
If you don't spend those CARES dollars, we're probably gonna have to send that back.
yeah, and I don't want to do that either.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So early on, we had that $200,000 FEMA dollars. Is that the 60,000 that you were referring to?
No,
Is there
that's
any
the
of that?
$200,000 that I said are sitting in reserves that we haven't touched.
Okay,
And that was CARES dollars. We haven't got any FEMA money yet. We're still waiting. We're supposed to be getting about $40,000.
okay. Is that from that original? Is that from the, and you still haven't seen any of those dollars? We don't want to go that way.
And then we've got a check
Because we'll never get
for
it.
100 and some thousand that was left over from areas that didn't request the dollars. It was like excess funds. And that 100 and some thousand is what I've been pulling all of the PPE, all of the stuff. And it's either 40 or 60. I have to go upstairs and look, but that's what's left out of that. So the 200 and some thousand we've never touched. That's just set in reserves.
You know, I guess what I'm saying, I understand where you're coming with this. But I just want to make people aware that the monies are gonna be shorter.
Well, I think that was part of the reason you rushed this along was before all that money is spoken for,
yeah.
to get your needs / wants.
Ultimately, everything on the list is a benefit to not only the employees and the responders, but it's a benefit to the patients.
Well, yeah, patient's number one.
I mean, every single one of these can be tied to COVID directly.
And I'm not arguing that point.
But I do agree with Dean in the fact, that's a good question to ask before we agree upon any, if there's a source of money outside of the COVID money that you're talking about.
Yeah, I think that, that coalition, those coalition dollars, they get, I think it's $32,000 a year. And, the public health nurse gets some of that. And then she has the opportunity to spend that the way she wants to. Well, she didn't spend it last year. And so it went back. So those dollars are available. And that's why I asked you if you needed everything right now, because over a period of a couple, 2-3 years, you can probably get this and probably use coalition dollars.
When the last meeting we went to was my first meeting, but just out of what I was questioning them about was out of that $32,000, the ambulance generally gets anywhere from 0 to 3,500 has been the most we got from what I've been told. That's allotted to the ambulance service. So we use that for the Packers this year. And then, you can buy this stuff, but then again, you wait and with the price increases, then you're paying more for something that you could have had a year ago or 2 years ago. Or
Yeah, and I understand that, but when you're sending $10,000 back, you can have
and
that.
I even joke,
I mean, that's just nuts.
I even joked with her on that. I said, you could send some of that my way. And she says, I can't do that. So
Well, I think public health nurse can. I'm pretty sure of that. But there are probably pots that you can't dip into, but I'm thinking that the public health nurse could have helped you out there. My second question is this replacing any equipment?
this is not replacing anything.
Okay,
This is all new. You could look at the SPO2 monitors as replacing, but it's not. This is something that we wouldn't replace. I mean, we've been with the same ones for as long as I've been there.
It's basically replacing technology.
Exactly. These haven't always been available. Now they're available. I know the hospital did buy one, but this would be something for us on scene to where, if somebody's exposed, that we can see what their levels are and provide the proper treatment. Otherwise, right now, we're just treating them for possibly something they didn't have.
I guess my point is that if we're replacing stuff, can the stuff that you're replacing it, can it go to Brita and Templeton, man,
Yeah.
stuff like that,
Yeah, and
and improve their response.
Yeah, the only thing on this list that if we were to be getting would be under the additional equipment would be the other ventilator. My thoughts were is if we could trade that in, back to Zoll to go against that $10,000 for the upgrades.
Oh. Trading.
Yeah.
And it comes down to the trade-in value versus what the value to the county would be.
Right, yeah,
And that's your determination because I'm not in that field and I can't speak to the use of it.
generally our, excuse me, our vents only are used when we're doing transports from one facility to another. The only instance where it would be used in the field as far as a 911 response would be if we were to go to Coon or something and we could put the patient on the vent there. But Rita really is close enough to where they wouldn't use it, you know, and they've only got a couple paramedics that are first responders and they don't always respond.
That's my next question. Is that only allowed by a paramedic,
Correct.
not a EMT or
Right.
less? Okay, so it makes sense to put it someplace where there is a possibility of one being there.
Right.
Yeah, we're fortunate, we're in the area we are that we do have what we do have. Some places don't have this.
Yeah.
And I really don't have a problem with any of this stuff. But my biggest point is that these COVID dollars are gonna run out. But I guess if we did approve this, I would like to have you check these other sources before we do it, you know. See if there is some other sources available that we can stretch these COVID dollars out. And
You
that-
know, and another thing too, I mean, we were made aware on Thursday that there's more COVID dollars coming out. They were released November 1st that I'm gonna be talking to the board about here, but I just wonder if there's gonna be more available, probably for you guys. If there was somebody lobbying for you guys. Have you gotten any COVID dollars? Has the emergency, you know?
From what I understand, the vents that I'm talking about were originally purchased partially by COVID dollars back last year, 2020. Late 2020. My assumption would be is that they didn't put those out on the vents for cost reasons. The vents were already about $13,000 a piece. And it was a public or EMS or county match type of situation. So, you know, and nobody really knew what the path where COVID was going and the patient treatment plans on how it would be approached and executed essentially. So, but now there's that plan in place, and we are actually transporting way more vented patients than we ever have. It's almost it used to be a monthly basis. Now we're weekly and sometimes multiple weekly.
James, is this a situation that we were so easy last week that you came back this week?
Yeah, I just figured, you know, I cut it in half, but
I gotta stick them gigs in once. in a
oh
while.
yeah.
But these all look like long-term investments to me, and even if we get COVID dollars later, maybe we can shift them around at that time. So I like a motion that we go ahead with this $68,855.
You want that into the research the other.
Yeah, and
funding?
please research
I
that.
will.
And if you can, you can, if you can't.
Yeah, I'm looking at other funding options and grants and stuff. It's just those are a process. I know Stephanie had sent me a bunch of stuff that I've looked through. It's just right now I've got some other irons and other fires I'm trying to put out. So I haven't been able to put a whole lot of time into that part of it.
Yeah, I think if you get some of this maybe covered on some other funding, at least it'll help stretch our dollars out. to other areas.
Will this be CARES Act primarily, or will it be American Rescue Plan?
It's through CARES. then.
The original CARES, correct?
Okay. So that won't affect the courthouse ventilation.
That's ARPA. Any other questions? All right, there's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
So what's the motion, Rich?
The motion is for the whole $68,855 with the caveat that he searches to see if he can find the other funds to help with this. But
Go ahead
he's
with it.
authorized
Go
to go
ahead
clear
with
up to
it,
the
yeah.
68.
Yeah.
It's just, but if he can cut it down, cut it down.
Well, and even some of this PPE, there's some that you get from True Sarah, I'll do that.
Yeah, she did drop some off the other day.
And see what she can get. I mean, I just can't hardly believe that what she has is all that she can get. I would have to think there's more.
Yeah.
More that she can get. She just hasn't.
Yeah, well, and when we talked the other day, it seems like there's a lot of holding going on. They have a lot of PPE available, but it's being held.
Held or
Hold it till COVID's
Held
over.
or hoarded.
That, yeah, however you want to interpret.
Oh,
All right, so there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all.
No, it's all important stuff. There's
It
no doubt
is.
about that.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you, guys.
That's
Next
a lot
up.
of fish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
have fun. Next up,
Warm.
home care aides fiscal year 23 budget review. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, Megan? Good.
It's good for the soul.
I don't think we got talked to that neither.
You did, she sent it separately this morning,
I
didn't you?
did, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, there it is.
Take it away.
Not a whole lot of changes from current year to next. Up on the top, the revenue side, so numbers kind of fluctuated just a little, one line down, maybe the next one up. I think in overall, it was like about 5,000 less is what I figured for revenue. It's hard to say, just because we never know what our client numbers are gonna be.
So, yeah. You've got mine split out, but you don't have this split out as far as past due parents. So you may want to explain that.
Well, she doesn't do that. I do that.
But it's in here, isn't it?
75,000. Well, yeah, but it's
I understand
So
that.
we always put that in and it's not really anything she controls.
I know.
Yeah, so, yeah.
So yeah, that other pass, like the fifth line, 1, 2, 3. Fifth line down, it's other state federal pass through, there's 75,000 in that. So those are grants and things that come into the county and then go back out to like new ops and different, that's not directly my department. But it goes through my budget. So it comes through on revenue and then comes out on the expense side. I think every year that's.
I know, and I was always looking, I kind of looked to see if there was a better place to put that, like a different department, so it didn't show up on there, but there's really no other place to put it, so it's probably why it's there.
So in essence, the Elder Bridge has been kind of getting less money there, seems to be.
Elder Bridge, so I actually upped that one a little bit, because the current year, we ended up getting like 32,000. That's like, you're like 200 that other state one. Is that what one you're looking at? The 20, I budgeted 25,000. So I had been budgeting 20,000. And with Elder Bridge, you never know, but I've been getting more from
That's
Elder
what I was
Bridge.
getting at. Did they still come back later on, and give you more than? They
So
haven't, used to do that
in the
past.
past reallocation money. So we send in like in March, usually we'll send in numbers if we can utilize more money. And I think most counties always say yes, but they haven't been allocating back out. So I don't know if just they're not getting more. Or we used to get, good allocation money and I haven't got
Yeah,
any
once with the Corona came to it.
reallocation money, yeah. And they changed, like, we used to be able to bill however we wanted, like, if I wanted to just do a big lump sum billing down the bridge, I could do that, like, lump 3 months together or something. Now you have to spend a quarter of your money each quarter. So you have to split it out regardless of. There's more paperwork. So.
It's the first year if you've noticed that they haven't.
Reallocated. I know we didn't get reallocation money last year. I think it's been a
Okay.
few years.
That's because we used to get quite a bit
Mhm.
reallocation.
Yep.
That was my point.
Okay.
Because you're looking at, according to this, with just half the year, I mean, your year to date is 18,000 that you've received. Is that correct?
Right.
Looking at that right?
And that's because this year we got like 32,000, 34,000 from Auditors.
So, I mean, that's looking better. considerably better.
I'm always so wary to up my revenue side because,
Understandable, and that's good idea, good perspective.
but yeah, I mean, we're doing great on all the bridges this year because yep, I was allocated like. instead
So
of
you're
20,000.
almost at your 20,000 practically.
Yep. Okay, and then as far as expenses, I put the 5.5 for the salaries, like diapers and insurance. I did, Gina had recommended 2%, so that's what I put in there. So depending what you guys decide today. And then as far as the budget lines, most everything, Board of Health dropped $50. That's mileage reimbursement for the members of attending the meetings. Otherwise, I think most of my lines stayed the same. I did drop the mileage line for the employees 1,000. That's typically been well under. Going down towards the bottom of the page is my salary. Okay, for health insurance. Telephone. Pretty much the expense lines pretty well stayed about the same. It was just the salaries and insurance. And the jump on health insurance, that was a little bit more. I had an employee that went from a single plan to an employee child plan. So that bumped it up a little bit more. But overall, the insurance line had been down just because I've had long-term staff that have retired, replaced with, instead of a family plan, maybe a single plan or employee child. Or
Can you refresh me on the last one? And it's older, it's from 2020 to 2021, the office data processing, it's the last line, the second to last line.
Oh, yeah. So that's where it came in. Oh, yeah. So about 2 years ago. What was it early last year? When the state for our waiver clients that we provide, we had to start doing electronic documentation. So there was money that was pulled, and then that's just for ongoing, like we had to buy the iPads.
Okay, I couldn't remember what I was thinking.
Yeah, accountability.
Mhm.
I couldn't remember, I'm like, why did it
Yeah,
go
they
from
have,
19 down
you
to
have to have
10?
those iPads, they have to put in the data at the location so that they can make sure that
It's
that
all
person,
GPS.
so that they're at the place where they say they're supposed to be. So it's not bad, but it just cost us. a little more money.
So your service fees to clients, that's on a sliding scale, right? That's a sliding
Yes.
scale based on the need.
Right.
Don't have any issues with it.
I mean, it just, fluctuates as far as if the client is a client or what funding source they're put under, but.
So you've been put under a little bit more, I don't want to say stress, but a little bit more because of COVID. You have to suit up, gown up when you go into these homes and COVID homes, and so it all takes more effort and more dollars because of PPE.
And we did get some PPE from Sarah.
Yeah.
So that's very nice.
Any more questions?
No, so you're asking is 23?
If you. Oh, the
I'm not here.
difference, the increase?
Yeah, the increase,
It's about 24,000
24,000.
from the current year to next year is about 24,000 more. And that's 100% salary and health insurance.
Usually, Megan comes to us and it's less
Yeah.
because she has somebody retire or, and then, so the salary, the higher salary goes away and you have an introductory salary. Not the case this year.
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you for coming to the board. We don't need a motion. We just accept it.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
All right, next item on the agenda is review proposals for recorder auditor scanning projects. I do know we heard from Courtney last week. Ashton is going to give us her input for the recorder side today.
All right,
Good morning,
sorry,
Ashley.
I was out ill last Monday. You can probably guess why by the mask I'm wearing. There is a couple proposals and I am bringing one more that I'll hand out here shortly. Basically, the proposals include this preservation and scanning of the recorders and or auditors records. The recorder's office has records that date back to 1866. All the way through 1992 are the documents that we're looking at scanning. Some of those are scanned already by some back preservation. In 1992 is when the recorder's office went current with the recording, or when they recorded it, they scanned them at the same time right away. That's why we're not looking at doing anything 1992 to the present, because those are already scanned. There's two options. One option is to go with a company called CUT. Wonderful company, honestly, it's probably one of my favorite, but it's also the most expensive. And so here we're gonna have to weigh the pros and cons of these companies. So the initial cost to scan for CUT in their bid to us was $139,500 with a yearly fee of $2,040.
That's 170 a month that's on here.
Say that one more time.
The 170 a month that's on the quote, is that what that is?
That is $2,040 a year. Oh, yes,
Okay,
correct.
okay, gotcha.
Correct.
It's just
I
broke
see what
out
you're
different,
saying.
yeah.
Yes, that is that monthly fee. I just multiplied it out, so we'd have a yearly fee, so it'd be more comparable to the other side. Although it does have a cheaper yearly fee, I was arguing with them to give me a quote to scan only index books, and however, they would not do that for me. They would only, so what he decided to do, they only scan, in their quote, only to 50 to 70% is what he said were the documents scanned. I did a look myself and it's probably barely 50%. It would be all of the farm deed index books, all of the town deeds and the general. It would not be all of the mortgages, all of the releases, and then some other miscellaneous documents. His argument in that is that generally when someone's doing research, they're not gonna look for a mortgage from the 1800s. It's probably released clear title by then. But they may do genealogy research and do deeds. So that is why I'm sure they'd be more than happy to do an all approach. You're gonna look at obviously double that 157,000. So just to put that in perspective, you're looking at over $300,000 to do all of the recorder's books if you stick with that system for that company. The other company, I kind of did a mumble jumble of two to try to make it more cost effective. ArcaSearch is a very similar company to CUT. As Courtney mentioned last week, I do feel like their internet site is slightly less unorganized. That doesn't mean it's unorganized. It's just, we're probably search gurus and we like, oh, that's cool. Okay, you know, cool to us. I don't know who else would think it was cool. in order to bring ARCA search costs down, they did quote it for me where I could do it, have a separate company come in and scan. What that would save us is that it's cheaper for another company to scan it, and or the more you put on ARCA search website, the more documents, the more you pay per month, per year. You know, because you're taking up more storage. So in order to not have that additional yearly fee, we could put them into Eagle, which we are already paying that yearly fee. You know, so that's why I was trying to do the quote. I guess we have two options, and I don't know which is best, honestly. It depends which day you ask me. However, with this ARCA search and this separate scanning company doing the scanning, we would have 100% of our books scanned. I did get this scanning cost.
So why is COD only 50 or 70%?
That's the only way they can, in my opinion, that's the only way they can make, they argue their point to only do those certain books so that they can be a comparable scanning company cost wise.
But
They're just so out of
asked them
line.
to quote everything and they came back and said, we're only gonna quote part of it.
He gave me options and I, you know,
Okay.
in my opinion, if we were gonna do everything, it wouldn't be, but worth spending 350 when we can get it done for a fraction. So I just had him do his cost at part. I'm sure he'd be happy to come and do an all quote. It wasn't the most cost-effective option to me.
So which books would he not do?
He would not be doing all of the mortgages. We have a lot of, so we have in total about 100, for easy, about 100 index books. All those index books lead to other books. That's just your foundation of how you search your documents. And he's basically focusing on deeds and genealogy type research things. Deeds, he's only doing deeds, general, articles of incorporation, and mortgages. I'd have to go look what other indexes, but I mean, we have miscellaneous, we have easements, we have, you know, all these other different doc types. He only is going back 40 years, I believe, for mortgages on this quote from 1965 forward.
So they are doing mortgages 40 years back.
1965 forward. Yeah. So
More.
he's scanning 40 years plus the 92 forward.
So are you on the same page Courtney was? If you guys both go with the same company, it would be cheaper.
We absolutely need to go with the same company. Yes. Otherwise, you'll have 2 yearly fees if we don't.
Exactly.
So on the ARCA search one with the separate scanning cost, it's $99,500. That's from a company called Advantage. This on the wrong folder, that's why I can't find it. It's from a company called Advantage Archives. They're based out of Cedar Rapids. I'm gonna refer to it as a mom and pop type shop. It's probably gonna take the books home with them, scan them chunk by chunk. US Imaging did ask if they could give us a quote, which I did not have for the last meeting. I just recently got it. They're gonna be your more come in, do it on site.
Did they approach you or did you reach out to them?
I reached out to them. They're gonna come in, do it on site, be in and out in a week, and can have your records to you in no time. Their quote compared to the Advantage quote at about just shy of 100,000. Theirs is at 176,000. You can pay them to index and stuff too, which I don't feel is necessary. I feel we can do that in office. So you're looking at a $76,000 increase in scanning, but they would do quite the job from what I understand. I don't know. I have mixed feelings. I do think this is an important project. That's not what I have mixed feelings about, but as far as which route to go, I have mixed feelings.
Is this rescue plan funding you're looking to use?
Yes, please. Ideally, I do not have this in my budget. So that, yes, this is a presentation for monies if funds were available.
But you do have some funds available for
Yes, there's about $35,000 in that.
What do you call it?
Electronic fee fund.
Yeah.
We get $1 per document of recording documents.
And
That goes
that's
in
what
that
that's
fund, and
for,
it
right?
is for preservations of records. There would be some, like I said, do we want to pay someone to index them, or can we do that in-house? I could put some of that towards paying someone in-house to index them. There's always, there's that maintenance. But yes, right now there's about 35,000 in there, which is really a drop in the bucket. For what we're
This
looking at.
company's quite a bit higher than.
It is. Eagle Recorder, which is a program we currently have, has worked with US Imaging and Advantage. So they're compatible to work with each as far as importing the documents into Eagle.
Have you got any feedback from other counties who they're using? I mean, is there
The
a
company,
golden standard for the people?
everybody's
Iowa's
happy with
using?
that. Everybody's happy with ArcaSearch. No complaints about Advantage, no complaints about, no,
They're
I don't
all
think there's a bad
over
way to go.
And it, yeah.
So it comes
people are
down to
using
dollars.
both.
It comes down to dollars. Honestly, I wish COT would quote us just doing our index books because they have the cheaper yearly fee. And I can ask them one more time. I was borderline arguing with them in email. In my opinion, they become a go big or go home company. We didn't want to do all our books and they didn't want to waste their time with us, but
Well, the only thing that I've seen from COT, they would do that in-house, right?
They would. so would
So the
US
books would not
Imaging.
be leaving, which I think is
Yes,
I think that's a plus.
COT would, yes, and so would US Imaging. They would do it in-house. But you're gonna pay 70,000 more, which I also feel is important. If I had to choose today, I'm not saying I won't change my mind tomorrow.
Coin toss, which way is it?
ArcaSearch and US Imaging is probably the way to go unless I could go with COT to do just our index books. COT has the better, most user-friendly program. But right now they won't quote it for us that way.
And you said
They won't what?
either. was
Quote it
fine
for
with
us
you,
that way.
or-
I have such, in comparison to what she's got going on, I have such minimal that it'd be easier just to go with where she wanted to go.
Which one of your two do you think was more user friendly?
I like the COT site, but it's probably one of those things where, how much money do you want to spend? And I think that's probably why a lot of counties are going with ArcaSearch, is because it's a lot more financially.
And COT will argue that, they're a library, they're jumping in last minute just because of COVID dollars. Where COT is geared towards reporters, auditors. But
Is there a lead time on these, or are they all?
the only one that gave me a date
I think
was COT.
COT was
And it
was
was-
able to do it quicker, right? 4 months out, and where ARC is
Within 12
within
months.
12 months. That's it.
That's correct. So you're basically looking at having half your documents scanned or all for a very comparable price. And like I said, if you'd rather me get a quote where they scan all of them from COT, I'm happy to do that. I'm gonna estimate it to be over 300,000, just because if you double this at 50%, it's gonna be double that,
How much office space will it free up? Or how
If I
much
can
of
do,
your
if we
square
can do the
footage?
ArcaSearch Advantage, it would clear all of it. I would have to keep my military records and some confidential records up there, but it would very much clear that
The
out.
whole vault?
Yep.
No matter which company did it, it'd be.
Well, if we did 50%, it'd be a little different.
People that do come in and do research. Just gonna make it easier for them, once they figure out how to maneuver around the website.
They will love it, yes,
They probably won't have to come in and do it.
correct.
Once they,
You can go to the
The
ArcaSearch
initial-
You
website,
can,
search what you want.
yeah, and instead of us having to go to the basement because someone needed a book from whatever, sometimes we're just not able to. We limited staff in our office, and going to the basement with someone for a half hour, 45 minutes isn't always realistic, Does it happen daily? No, it does not, but it does happen.
So how often does it happen? How often do people come in?
It'll happen twice in 1 week and then not for a month, and then,
Well, if we're spending $100,000 for 20 searches a year,
it's gonna be,
shooting at Christmas, and you gotta wonder,
I don't think,
It's a preservation too,
I don't
because the
think we're
books get
doing
more
it for
currently.
people searching. I think we're doing it, so we always have those documents forever. And if we have a fire, if we have water damage, we have those. I think that's where you gotta look, because, yeah, the searches,
But I'm
Well,
gonna
and
assume
the
for
other part
for
is
that money, it
to
has to be
make
somewhere.
available space.
Yeah, prime real estate.
Right.
is
so
what
we
I'm
can
looking
say
at.
we're doing it so we can limit exposure to people coming into the courthouse. and doing
Right.
We
searches
do have
and
to
use
say that, you know,
COVID dollars.
not that, not say, I mean, then there's some truth to it, but yes, is it that much? It's not, but if those COVID dollars, that's probably an important part of it.
I mean, we'll probably have somebody come look at transfer books, a couple people a month, probably. But
Well, it's funny, it can be crazy one month and then the next,
So, past recorders have been doing the scanning themselves, have been,
they've been
Good.
having image check come in and scan it and they index themselves.
right,
This would just be doing it all in one lump sum. You know, we can continue with the few books here and there like they were doing. They used Image Check, which is a company that's gone out of business now. And they would do, 10 at a time. Image Check would take the books and then they bring them back and then they put them in as they went. This is that same idea with US Imaging for Advantage. They're just doing it in one lump sum because of that COVID dollars. If there was some available.
well, I kind of go back to what Gene's been saying, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna have enough money to do all this. We're using COVID dollars.
And then as far as the timelines on that, if it's something you want to save till last minute when I don't know, I just can't imagine the fees changing dramatically from the beginning of the year to the end, but I don't know that.
if I don't scan mine, they're gonna just go down in the basement.
Well, I think we can
Because I don't
scan
have
some,
room-
but
I'm not
I
gonna
just
have
wonder,
room for 'em.
I just wonder if we're gonna end up spending
All right, one
$300,000.
I apologize, I left my stuff at home. I thought I had it in there, but I don't. So tell me what the total cost of the pot system is for both.
I got my scribbled on it, but you're welcome to have
You have
that.
the auditors on there too,
I do not.
I have mine here, so
but you don't have a combined one.
So I'm just curious, this is
I
just a
have one
question.
like this.
Let's say hypothetically, Susie in your office, that's all she did for a year, or however long it took. Scanned it ourselves and did it that way. How long would it take her to get it all done? Or even you jumping in, but having one employee, strictly, that's all they did.
Scanning and indexing.
Mhm.
I'd never see it done in my lifetime. You got 100 index books
Never
alone
mind, I
and
just was thinking.
each book has 1,000 pages, we're talking.
I just thinking it'd be cheaper to have an employee do it.
Well, that's kind of, I had the same thought. I mean, you could probably
But-
set a couple people down there for $150,000.
But then what do
And
you
you
do
want to
when
have a
that's
nice
done?
scanner, some of these
Another
books are
boy?
bound, they don't come apart, so you have to have a scanner big enough to lay it on, press it flat.
Okay, you got,
That would be if you doubled it and did 100% of the
this
books.
is, what's this?
This is cut,
Yeah,
and if you double it, this is ARC Research with having Advantage scan. And this is ARC Research having US Imaging scan where they do it on site.
oh, that's adding them together. then.
Yeah, I should have added a third column.
So when you use this, you'd have to use also ARPA search then, right?
Those would go into Eagle and only the index books would go into ARC Research to keep that yearly fee as low as possible.
So when they do it on site,
Mine would
would
all
they
be in
bring a
our
trailer?
research, I think.
Would they bring a trailer and do it, or would they need a room?
They
Or
thought
would
that
need their own
they would
scanner
need a
on
little
it?
room. They thought the upstairs boardroom would be sufficient.
Would they bring their own scanner?
Correct. So you basically are talking about putting all documents onto COT, or you're putting all documents into Eagle right now. There's a lot in Eagle, that's the program we use. So you're gonna split them, or you're gonna try to put them all in Eagle. Besides the index books, we can't put, not that we can put the index books in Eagle. They're made not searchable. Eagle doesn't have a way to make the index books searchable. I think Dalton had the website pulled up last week.
Yeah.
By that, Eagle's not able to do that, which
So
is why you put
Eagle
the
a
index.
Tyler product?
Yes,
So if they found they used ARCA search for the index books, found the book and page, they could then go to the Eagle site and search the book and pages.
Yeah. And all our Eagle documents automatically get sent off to Iowa Land Records, so it would be all available online. And or at our public search computer. Yes. So, and if you did with option 2, all documents would be scanned into Eagle all in the same spot, aside from your index books, which Eagle doesn't have the capabilities to have that searchable, which would be on the ARCA search, which is a company that Courtney is using, possibly anyways, one of them too. So it wouldn't be an extra yearly fee since the auditor's office. That's why I was just gonna take advantage of.
Well, I
That
don't
search
think we
tool.
can go with these here, what you got wrote in here. I think we gotta go with the basic, what was suggested to us. And then, but this company would be separate from ARCA search then?
Correct.
And they
It's
would,
this separate scanning cost, that's a separate company.
so these people to do the same thing ARCA is doing, their price would be,
So you're comparing, yeah, so as far as the scanning, you're comparing this 99,000 to 176.
okay, they're 176. So which this makes this company higher than. Okay, and what's yours cost, Courtney?
So the cot quote for mine was 68,995 for 5 years. Here, let me back up.
So did you, okay,
I'm looking,
Yours says
I used
50.
your little spreadsheet and I'm like,
Sorry.
yours says 59,995.
all right, yeah, so the initial cost for cot is 59,995.
And then her initial cost for cot is 127,800.
157,000.
Well, that's for 5 years. So the initial cost is 139,500.
Up on top.
And we would share that yearly fee. We should have probably combined ours. I didn't think about that.
So just the initial cost for the both of you would be over $200,000, is that correct?
Correct,
With cot.
with cot.
Less, just a little less than 210.
And what would be an ARCA then?
My charge for ARCA was 44,989.
The initial charge is 43.
44, and then, yeah, hers. But
Yep.
then she has some additional scanning that she'd have to do. And that's one of the questions you guys had last week was, what's that for? And that's why she brought those 2 quotes, one from the mom and pop place that I can't remember the name, and the other one.
Yeah.
And that separate
Without the
scanning,
yearly fees to go ARC. Oh. Do I have to do the Eagle upload fee as well, add that in as well?
On the ARCA search side, yes. Not necessarily, it's debatable on the COT side. It's not required on the COT side.
Very
Without doing the yearly amount, so if you two get a better deal, it's 107,536.50.
Compared to 200 on the COT side stuff.
Well, I didn't add in any of the annual fees. Because I think you guys need to have that discussion, whoever you go with, can you get a better price
we
if
would.
you went together?
What about
So
if they bundle it, both of your offices, or is
they
this,
probably would, because her and I would be sharing that site that you search on.
with their initial fee, would that be lesser, perhaps
No.
one setup fee, one
I
travel
don't
fee?
think so. I don't think so, because they both were aware of what we were
Yeah,
trying to
they
do.
were.
Okay, has
On
either one been
your,
on site?
what?
Has either company been on site?
Yeah, ARCA and COT both have.
Okay.
Did so ARCA's just gonna scan your index books. Correct. And then the other company will scan everything else.
Because with ARCA, the more you put on the website, the higher the yearly fee. So since we're already paying yearly for Eagle, I thought it was smart to not pay additional.
So what are we looking at with this company then? And we're looking at these numbers in the back here.
Yeah, that first option. I think.
First option, 176. Yeah.
Correct.
And that's for them just to come in and do it.
Have it in, done in one sweep, yes.
Okay, so do they have any kind of options as far as, you know? And I'm just thinking that, you know, can we put $40,000 in your budget every year to have them come in and then spread it over 4 years or something like that?
I'm sure
If it
it'd be
becomes-
They would
more
be open to that.
expensive. I'm
It might be
guessing.
more expensive, but I mean, you know,
Not that brunt.
yeah, I don't.
Definitely wouldn't
I-
be stealing from the American Rescue Plan funds
As
either.
much, yeah.
Well, my,
Yeah, that's what I'm
That was
thinking.
our budget.
Oh, yeah. If she,
I was gonna propose to spend it out of lost, but,
Well, there you go. I mean,
um,
that's an option too.
the only thing is if we do it over multiple years, I'm sure it's gonna be a higher cost, because you're gonna have them coming back multiple times and
Right.
setting up, but I don't know how much that would be.
I wouldn't be opposed to taking some COVID. And using some of your dollars that you've got.
Mhm.
I just
I
thought,
mean, to me, you don't have a quote from this for your part.
I don't need it.
No,
Huh?
Arca Search can scan all my documents. I don't have indexes like she does. I just have,
Okay.
it's just different, which is why my quote's less. It's just less stuff. And mine will be kind of a one-time thing, because we don't do transfer books manually anymore. They're done electronically,
Well,
so.
basically, this should be a one-time deal for both. Because after this
Well,
point,
this
you
large
guys,
of amount, you
both
could
of you
have
will be
them.
entered into that system, right? The
Correct.
new ones?
Mhm.
And then going forward, you can do
We
it.
we already do scan going forward.
The
Yeah.
only thing I would have forward would be board minutes. You know, you might want to look at it in 5 years and say, okay, we're ready to put some more board minutes on there. But there are already PDFs of those, so I don't know if that's something we can send them and they can put on there.
You can't put those on yourself.
They're on our website, but they're on our website by board meeting and they're not searchable. This
But would you be
be
able to upload?
And they're only
those
on there
ever?
for a year, I think.
We'd probably have to pay them to upload it to their website, either Pat or.
But you wouldn't have
would be
any
my guess.
access to upload anything.
I don't believe.
So in the
I don't
future,
believe
anything
so.
we wanted to add to it, we'd have to pay additional.
Probably. You're paying for another company to host your data.
And that's not all bad either, because our data's then protected off-site in the cloud or whatever.
Mhm.
It's not on ours, so if something would happen here.
Right.
We have that, and I think Arca Search, and I'm not sure, they said once they scan that, we actually get those images for us to have.
We do own the images with either company, so should either company go out of business, we still get the scanned images at the
That
end.
was my next question.
How easy is it gonna be for people to access this information?
They
On the
usually have
internet.
links on the website,
Mhm.
like you go to Ashton's page and she'll have a link, like, I don't know what you're gonna call it, but there'll be a link. She can click on that and it should bring up the site. So
If
I
we
get
did the 100%, they literally could search the entire recorder's office from home.
But how easy
Both
is it?
these are user friendly.
I think so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how easy is it to do that? I mean, if somebody.
You could type in
Say
a
it's-
last name.
And a lot of
type
people
in a
do it
last name And
now.
that'll give you a list of documents that
Are associated.
underneath that, and then you can reduce it down for dates probably as
My
well.
understanding, they're searching the index, is that
Um,
correct?
Yeah, and the auditor's office searches by legal and our searches by name.
so if you got a legal description, you can search it through her.
Which is how you have to do it now.
You jump to your
Yeah.
site, and search it. It gives them two different
Mhm.
options, which that's really handy,
Mhm,
especially for the stuff that's deep way back that they may need.
mhm. And you can search by year also. I mean, that's something we do now, but you have to do it with the big books in your hand.
I was never really interested in doing this because, you know, who wants to change? You know what I mean? Like, and ask for money, but when I found out I'd probably be moving my office, and then when I found out that my election equipment still had no room out of the basement, I'm like, well, I don't want my election equipment in the basement anymore because it's not, be a lot safer upstairs. I want to have eyes on it, and I don't want it to worry about water, and it sucks bringing it up 2 floors too, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, this would be a good time because my vault is consumed by transfer books and board minutes a lot. And if I could get those out of there and not have to have access to those and have them downstairs.
Or an off premise.
Well, this is one of
Yes.
the things that came apparent through the assessment needs assessment in the courthouse.
Mhm.
Yes,
We can free up some space by doing this.
A lot of
I think this
space.
is-
Right.
and I'm not opposed to doing it over multiple years.
No, I think that's a great idea. I just, it would just
What's
kind of
that?
depend if you
Doing it over multiple years, I don't care. I just would like to get started.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a $20,000 project 1 year, I'm fine with that. And just keep moving forward. But
But it's sure nice to have them come in once and distribute
it would
one
be,
time.
and with these recovery dollars that all the counties got, that's what the county started doing. I think a lot of them were doing it.
Which
in
I think is
little
why Pat
chunks.
kind of went go big or go home, because they've done small chunks for companies before, and he didn't want to do that for me. I think they've got a lot of projects going on, and so he didn't want to mess with the federal one. Right or wrong.
Or do you have
Part
any
of it.
dollars in your budget
I do
to
not,
support this?
no, I don't.
Now, getting back to the money about using the rescue plan money, we could use it out of there and we can, for the remodel, we can always tap back into the loss that way also. So I guess it really doesn't matter whether you just do half out of the loss, half out of the other one. It's, we can always go back to the loss. It's just, we have to have that knowledge amongst all of us that we
I would,
can only do so much, so.
If you were
Right,
thinking about doing
and
it,
that's my
for-
big concern
Right.
is
What,
that,
where's our limits at?
yes.
if it helps at all, if you're considering doing a partial, I would suggest, deciding COD or ARC search. And then just doing them and that individual scanning company, having them come later, get the auditors done and the index books. That way, ARC search or COT doesn't have to come back twice. Do the ARC search COT first, do the US imaging advantage second. Then you wouldn't have that double fee to
But would,
pay them to come
if
back.
we didn't do it all at once, would the records still be in the way of the remodel and the future
Yes,
of
that's-
our courthouse?
yeah.
That's the bad. It'd
Yes.
be nice to get
Yeah,
them
these
out of
would
the way.
disappear, but
Mine would be, and mine, if ARCA came in and did mine, I'd be done.
she'd be
But you can get yours,
done.
but,
Or COD.
or COT.
Yeah, but we still have Ashley's.
And I'm not confident in this, but my vault size isn't changing in that remodel, is it? So
You're what?
my vault size is not changing in that remodel, so you could do mine in 2 chunks.
I don't think there's
Is that wrong?
anything been finalized. but
Okay.
Right now, I
yeah.
would say the surface says no, but
Yeah. I'd
So
say
that
right
would
now,
might make
so-
a difference. Well, no, Ashton isn't changing right now.
Is there a way we could maybe make this decision more when we start finalizing the budget into smaller pennies and see? I mean, I know what we're gonna estimated revenues from lost, but I would like to see what the budget kind of looks like before we say yes.
COTS quote is good till April 7th.
Yeah,
The
mine's,
current pricing.
mine's not good after today, but I don't foresee it changing much, especially if we went with them.
Mhm.
They'd be
I think,
probably on it.
and
I think you're
I
correct.
would rather we went with the same
So,
process.
I'm leaning towards the Arc Search company, but then again, it's not my software. not
because
my-
of cost or
Well, I don't like that CAT will not work with us as far as Ashton has mentioned. Segregating it into sections or like, I only want this, I want that, but they want the whole cookie or nothing.
Well, and to have them do everything, it's twice the money.
Yeah, then you're looking
Yeah.
towards 300 some thousand.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're assuming that.
Yeah,
Yes, I just.
My concern is with the recovery dollars or the ARPA funds, whatever you want to call them, I know that this project would be covered with those dollars.
Yeah.
There's no question. I'm not 100% sure that some of these projects we're going to be doing in the courthouse are.
I think that's all changed now because we're small enough that
Okay,
with the loss of income, they changed it where almost all the dollars are real loose now.
okay, well, then
I think
guess it
that's
doesn't
my.
matter.
Yeah, we
they're all in
kinda
the
heard
same
that
pot,
this
then
week.
which pot you
From
want
what
to pull it from.
This week, we kind of heard that the parameters have kind of changed a little.
It'll be different next week too, so.
So
Yeah.
this is going to be something we discussed like last year before we finalized the budget. We had a list of things that different departments had asked for.
Yeah.
That were above and beyond either salaries or something else they wanted to buy. Would this be included in one of those discussion items then at that time?
I think so. I think that's how I would like to see
If I
it.
can snag a copy of your thing, I can combine them, which would give us a
Okay.
just one number instead of jumping
That'd be
back
good.
and forth. I would get that. combined.
Well, that's,
Yeah,
yeah, it'd be nice
copy
to
of that.
see comparables together, all together.
Yep.
a concerning thing that I had, Ashton, was a comment that you made about this may be different for me tomorrow. What do you mean by that?
Because the quotes are only good till April, you
Oh,
know.
is that all you're saying?
I'm not saying they will change.
I thought you were-
For some reason.
Yeah, I
were-
thought you were saying.
Oh.
It's just the
Flip a
process.
coin,
and-
which
and-
one you want.
Which
Yeah,
way I go, yeah. They're both great companies. We'll have a good outcome either way.
so you're talking about a deadline as opposed to.
Correct, sorry.
Well, thanks for coming down and
Mhm.
answering our questions.
Yeah, thanks for coming down and confusing it more.
Yeah.
I know, last
more
week I'm like-
confused Now.
I'm like, oh man, you guys had me more questions last week.
All right,
Glad
next
you're
on
back.
Thanks for rescheduling.
Courtney, I'll just. add that to
I'll have it on the
list.
list of things that we talk at budget, more closer budget time.
All right, next thing up is approved treasurer's semi-annual report. Hi, Lisa. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. So
You
she
need to bring
sent,
in more money.
well, she sends me that report and what I do is I verify the auditor's ledger, the reserves, things that you guys see monthly. Make sure we batch and everything looks really good.
So you balanced out, correct?
We did, and we
Yeah.
usually do.
Yeah, before I send it over, I check the things that I check, you know, the orders going out match with what we say, the bank balances equal what they say. And then what's outstanding is outstanding.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Well, and one thing I think needs to be, this final dollars here, that is not just all county dollars.
No, it's not.
And some of those are different areas, people that were holding money for until you pay them out, right?
Yep.
I just want that kind of said so public people.
Be nice
don't
if
think
it was
we're
all ours,
Setting
but
all
it's
kinds
just-
of money.
Any more questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's semi-annual report.
I'll say.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa. All right, item number 5, fiscal year 23 county health insurance rates.
You hate it when you take notes a week before and then you're looking at your sheet. What's that even mean?
Comprehensive notes.
No idea what that means. Oh. So I think we had talked last week that you kind of wanted to know what the cost would be if you eliminated that 750 plan.
Yep.
And just had the high deductible. So when I reached out to Clark, his email back, I forwarded that and I'm like, really a month? I think that $1,000,000 some was a year,
Yeah.
not a month. We're not gonna save $1 million a month, but wouldn't that be nice?
That would.
But no, that was not the case.
Yeah.
After doing some checking, so.
Trying to find that email.
I know, and I wish I understood this better. I should have made better notes on this. Like, I did it, and I think I sent this to you also, maybe you guys remember better than I do, but I took how many people are on all the different plans on the low plan and what that cost. And then I took those people and put them on the high plan and what that would cost and what the difference would be. I'm pretty sure I emailed that out,
You did.
but I'm looking at my little notes I took and I've got lots of different numbers on here, so.
Who wants to go first?
You sent out a thing where,
She did, and it stated in the.
Cost compare between the 750 and 1,500.
Well, it said question.
Yeah, what date, what? Was that?
Is
Monday.
that this form here you're talking?
Mm-mm.
The original one was Monday. She had sent the email to Clark and then it
the
came
subject
back.
matter says question.
Last Monday?
Mhm.
Oh, really?
That's why I don't remember.
The
It was
17th.
a week ago. My mind is,
So he attached all the members in the 750 plan, all the members in the 1500 plan. This cost per month was 150,000 per month. So I guess, I mean, I can kind of go first and I'm not gonna break into like what we think, what I think we should do, what we shouldn't do. I think there's a lot of miscommunication between us and the staff as far as why we would even think about going away from the low deductible and only keeping the high deductible and explaining what the benefits to the actual employee would be. So my recommendation, no matter what we do going forward as a board, being more transparent, pull in all the staff members, explain, okay, so this is if you went from, like, for instance, I'm the low deductible, I'm going to switch to the high deductible. My family doesn't go to the doctor, I'm okay paying the higher
With a cheaper
Copay?
premium.
Yep, with a cheaper premium. So in the end, I end up saving money. But having somebody explain that to you is easier than trying to go through all these numbers. Because I think we can all agree this is a pain to look at all this and trying to summarize it all. That would be my first thing, is pull everybody in as far as staff or department heads or elected officials or whoever would be interested in hearing about it. And then also discussing HSAs, explaining the benefit of those, because unless somebody explains it to you, if we can keep talking about it all day long and they can watch it on Zoom, but nobody's gonna do it unless we truly. take
Well,
initiative.
I don't know. I don't know. I think I get what you're talking about, but I would say we just start up the insurance committee again
Yes,
and have that discussion from now until next year.
well,
Like, you know.
we had discussion with employees when you set up the HSA, and nobody was interested in it because the county was not contributing. to
Right.
the
There was no
HSA.
participation.
There was
from
no, other than the bet, other than the premium, which wasn't that much cheaper to do. It really stinks trying to get your HSA set up and started.
Yeah,
And then to, to have, your kid gets sick and it costs you $140 every time you take them into the doctor.
Well, the
A
problem.
lot of
is
people can't afford that,
And
so
then-
they want to be on the $20 one,
So
when
if
they
you
know.
contribute to the HSA, it's really the county saving any money. If you do start up the HSA and then the county's contributing to it, how much money are you really saving?
Well, that's the factor you have to, what you
yeah.
give to the employee to participate in it.
That'd be
Versus what the rate change. Yeah, it's most everyone I've ever been associated. It's an
I could
annual-
put $1,000 in a year for you. or
$1,000
whatever it
a
is.
year. So essentially what you're doing is you're taking a $2,000, $4,000 policy. And by giving them $1,000, you're turning it into $1,000, $3,000. Because you're handing it to them. It's theirs. They can do it. And if they leave the services here, they can take it with them forever. It's their money forever.
Well, it's got some definite advantages for younger people and the savings gonna be to the county is that you're talking about a, what, $2,000 or $2,400 deductible plan, correct?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's where the savings to the county's gonna come
Yeah.
in. We can't determine that right now.
Right, and
You
and
know.
each individual situation is gonna be different. If you've got lots of health issues in your family, it's not a plan for you. If you're coasting along and don't have a lot of sicknesses, it's a great plan.
Your family's at an age where they're
Yeah.
not gonna have a lot of
Yep.
stuff and I mean, if you're starting to start a family, it's
Yeah.
probably not. for
That's
you.
probably not your cup of tea
Yeah.
at that time, but you can rattle a lot of money, depending on where you're at financially. I mean, there's other advantages to it too, because you can write off so much each year off your taxation. So
If you started this when you were 30 years old and your kids were at the right age or older, you would really benefit by this. If you were in your 40s.
Yep.
In your 50s, when the kids are gone, and now you've got.
Yep.
You and your wife. And I think that's when the benefits really start rolling in.
Yep.
Is that right, Rich?
Yeah, exactly right. I was on one and that's exactly correct. Early in life, it's probably not to your advantage. You got a lot of runny noses and those kind of things. later in life, it's probably not advantage either, because you've got all those health things that have added up over the years. So.
And you can always switch too.
You can go back and forth.
Yes.
And you can change your allocation, can't you? If, let's say you're doing 50, you can go to 100, or if money gets
I
tight.
think there is a max, but like of dollars that you can put into
The
it, I
max
should
that I
say.
believe you can put in is, I believe is 5,600 or 6,500. It's in that ballpark each year. But there again, and I had literally have had times, that's my money in there. Have I went to the doctor and have it, and here's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. Because you're in a network, you can turn that bill into your insurance company first. They will buy that network down, and then that's all you pay. You don't pay from up here. So, and that's the part that I think Clark needs to explain a little bit better, or some rep, or we need to get that broadcast out there a little bit better. I've literally paid cash for it rather than dig into that. Because I figure it's cheaper now than it will be later. That money will do me more good later. So there's lots of advantages depending where you're at financially, health-wise. I mean, you've got to weigh it all together. And I don't think that's a bad idea to put a committee together, throw it out there for next budget season, see if it'll work. Maybe it won't work. I think one of the ones that Courtney's absolutely correct, the people that we had come in were and looked at it, they were all in that 35 to 55 range. And they all kind of walked away. Well, if you were participating, I would like that better. But then it comes down to the math where Gene's correct, where the money that you're putting out, will it save that much on premiums and on the care itself? You don't jeopardize the care. That's the point that you don't want.
Well, I don't think there should be any complaints about what's going on with the policy today. You know, I mean, from what I understand, as far as these deductibles, I mean, I'm hearing deductibles up to $8,000, you know, and you're talking basically catastrophic
Mhm.
health insurance.
A lot of them are getting that way.
Yeah, and so, you know,
No,
just,
we don't want to go to that.
no. But I'm saying is that that's what other plans do look like. And
I would bring in, so obviously I have another job. I can bring in that plan. I can show you guys. It's not this. But I'm not trying to compare private to this because it's separate. And I think if you do start that committee, you can pull in other counties, what they do. We can discuss contributing to an SHA. We can discuss, okay, if we contribute $100, we'd like to see you go to the high or the higher deductible plan. You know, meet us halfway.
So a lot of counties that employees don't even pay for their insurance.
that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way this kind of.
There's a few.
They did. When I first started, I paid $30 a month, I think, for a family. Now I pay almost $400. And that's, I mean, it just goes up every year.
We were sitting around a table this week, several of us, and one county was telling us what their health insurance went up, and it was what,
It was a lot.
12%, I think we
Yeah.
said. And, you know, we're sitting there, we're not looking at any increases. So, I mean, I do think our employees are probably paying attention to what they do, especially when it comes to generic drugs and stuff like that. So I think the thing is, it needs to be noted here, we're just trying to save dollars on the county side to keep the budget so we can keep everything afloat.
Keep the budget a little more friendly.
And I don't think it's our intent to cut any type of benefits or anything like that. Just maybe make them more attractive, different things that are available in the market.
Well, if, Walmart came in at a 0% increase, that shouldn't affect the budget. It should be the same as it was last year.
Correct.
So
Yep.
I mean, I understand you guys talking about doing other things, but there's not a budgetary change this year unless you guys decide to do one.
But I think we're always cognizant that at some point in time, this is going to change. And then I think we're trying to maybe beat something to the punch, so when things are real tight, that we slamming a bigger bill on the employees.
That could happen tomorrow.
And that could happen.
It could be a 12% increase next year.
Yeah.
Could be. You don't know. We don't have crystal balls here, but I do
Could be
think if
12%.
you had that committee, you could start talking about it. You can start discussing it.
It could be 12% increase and with COLA at 0.5.
Yeah.
That would not be good then to accept the.
I know, and that was kind of what Dean and I were alluding.
But at the same time, I don't think we should penalize them now neither.
No. And I don't think this is a penalty. I'm just
No.
thinking this is what it's the chance to adjust something that's sustainable. If the rate of inflation continues the way it is, I'm sure we're going to see a large jump next year. And there comes the factor, if you're sitting at a low COLA and a large jump. Boy,
But-
that's a
but if
tough
we
one to
change-
swallow.
If we change the rate from 85-15 to 80-20, and we got a big jump next year, would we lower it back down to 85-15 to make up for it?
I have a feeling, Scott, you're right. When we
Yeah.
go, we're probably not gonna go back. Most
Yeah,
likely.
I mean, to me, it's a takeaway. It would be like taking away a day's vacation perhaps, or
It's significant.
it's
The
huge.
takeaway would be.
It is.
Yeah, it's, I think it would, to me, I talked to Clark twice last Thursday, and we've got an email chain here that goes on forever. But basically, the last couple of years, our report card has been an A on our health or our usage of medical things. So I think it would be wrong to change the 85-15. I think that would be a huge giveaway. And he
And I-
said, I think he said 75% of the people with the low deductible don't even meet the low deductible. So some of those people could shift to the higher deductible and
Save
save
money.
themselves money.
But I
Well, I
think
guess-
that's,
That was kind of my thought. I don't think we need to change anything, but if we were gonna do anything, I would like to make the higher deductible premium less. So that there
It's
is
more
more
attractive.
people, it would become more attractive. That's no cost to the county, as I
And it would be a
understand.
savings to the
And it would be a
employee.
savings to that individual.
I think
We
awareness is
talked a
part of
little
it.
bit about that.
Communication,
If you did that,
awareness,
it would also lower
100%.
the county share. and
Would
would
lower the
that.
county share. So,
The
I
only
mean,
bad
that
thing
was,
is
that would be
there's-
the only thing that I would look at changing. Otherwise, I wouldn't be, I'm kind of like Gene and Scott, I don't, for the sake of just raising rates, I wouldn't do that. I think they've earned, I was for actually, probably this is a year we should probably do something, raise it, because, be prepared.
Yeah.
But no, I don't, I have second thoughts about that, and I'm not interested in penalizing.
One of the plans, it would be, if we raised it to 5%, it would be $110 a month, and their raise of 5.5% might only be $130 a month.
Yeah, the only bad thing is you've got 99 plans on the low deductible and 16 on the high,
Yeah.
0 on the HSA.
But the
So
99, I think according to Clark, only 25% of those people met the low deductible.
so if you could
So they could
actually
be saving
explain,
money themselves by, again, it's awareness and education.
Education.
it's all
There's
education.
nothing wrong with having different policies. I think probably education is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Make them aware so they understand, and they probably would move
Mhm.
some from the HSA, and you'd have probably some movement to the higher deductible.
I think we
There's
would,
still probably gonna be a few that are gonna still wanna stay in that low deductible.
but there's no way for the county to put money in the bank for an anticipated raise next year by punishing the employee switching or to 80-20.
Well, and I've seriously, I mean, I've been on the low since I started, and I've seriously thought about going to the higher deductible because we don't use the insurance very much, but the price difference is $60. And for me,
Versus the
$60 a month,
$750.
I might as well stay on that one. I pay, instead of paying $30 to go to the doctor, I pay 20. If something happens,
Then you take like me, I get one that I'm still meeting my deductible.
But,
So you-
but I think one of the things, and I pointed out a little bit ago, and that got missed everywhere, is even if you're on HSA, you still run it through your insurance. You get the network savings, you get all the
You're
benefits
not
from the
paying
med
list
side,
price.
you get all those benefits. It just it doesn't alter it that much. That's
and
You
there
get
again,
the
I think,
pre-negotiated price if you're in that.
exactly.
so
you
the
get a good
premium
deal.
for the HSA for a family is $233. For the low deductible for a family, it's $319. I don't know that there's big enough gap there. to
There's
make
not.
it-
And that's what I
mean,
say, maybe it
Dean-
isn't
Dean's right.
$1,000 a year, maybe you give them $750 or so much a month, but that's where the committee should come up with something to make that a little more attractive.
Clark did make it clear to me, he would love to come back and talk more about it if there
Oh,
was
yeah.
interest.
Insurance can be a
Yeah.
3-hour subject.
No, but he
Yeah.
said he would make himself
Yeah.
available. But
Yeah,
I went into a lot of details back and forth on possibilities, and there are a lot of possibilities.
There is.
But I still think, yeah, it would be a takeaway to change anything when our cost hasn't increased.
So when do we have to,
April
when do we have to firm something up as far as Clark is concerned?
The final rates will come back in May.
So we got some time.
We do, but we need to decide what we're gonna do now.
For
for
budget.
budgeting process.
Because we have to do, even before the final rates come in, we gotta make a decision on what we're gonna charge for rates next year, because we gotta get our budget.
I think we
Needs
should
that
do no
number.
change.
Well, real quick, Dean. So there's only a $17.29 difference between the high and the low deductible for single. And then
You're
52,
talking per month, right?
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay.
and then 52.55 for family. And I just did those two. How do you go about making that a bigger spread? To get people to go to the higher deductible plan without,
We'll just lower the 1,500.
Mhm. I say, in that, I think, was it you and I that talked about
Yeah.
that last week? We said, leave the low alone.
Yeah.
And maybe lower the higher, you
Yeah,
know, leave the low
because,
like it is.
yeah, because if you increase the lower one, then that's gonna be costly to the county.
Mhm.
That'll cost the county more. But if you just lower the higher deductible, make that spread better, make it more attractive. You know, and then you're saving money. Because once you get those people on that higher deductible, the county also saves money.
but it doesn't affect the employee if we went that way.
Correct. It would affect the employee that are on the high deductible now, as they would be paying less.
That's,
And
It's
it
a
would leave the
plus.
750 people, those 99 plans,
To
it
work
would
to go
leave
to
those
save more money.
alone. And maybe they would look and say, you know what? They didn't raise my premium this year, but maybe I should switch to the higher deductible because I could save a couple $100 a month. And then you're not penalizing the people on the low deductible, because I don't think that's fair, because our rates didn't go up.
right.
But you
And when
may
does-
make the gap a little bigger to make people that don't use the insurance or don't feel they need to be on low to switch. 'Cause
When
that's
does
kind of
the
where I'm at.
employee have to make that decision?
We have open enrollment, July 1, so sometime in June, people can switch if they want to.
So I think we've got time for that because we don't know. I mean, the only thing we have to know today is whether we're gonna make a,
Increase.
yeah. And I don't think the way the consensus that I
would
see here
agree
is
that
not,
we freeze the medical costs for the fiscal year 23
but
budget.
can't we make the decision on the deductibles at
After.
another meeting?
If you're gonna lower them, sure. If you're gonna raise them, no, because then you wouldn't have it in your budget to pay for
Right.
that. But if you're gonna lower them, like if you're gonna lower the premiums on the low deductible plan, that will affect 16 plans that are on it and their budgets. However, they're gonna have budgeted a little too much in the insurance line. Is that horrible? Well, I don't think we're probably talking tens of thousands of dollars here. But like, if you have a department that has a couple people on the high deductible, they may have excess funds in that line because you guys lower it.
You know, between the low deductible and the high deductible and single, right now, there's $20 difference just for the employee. That's
What's what you're talking about? Dean?
Well,
but what the employee pays on a single versus the higher deductible. That's
Oh,
like
oh.
20, almost right at $20.
17.29.
Yeah, something like that. You know, so we do have a spread there, but I would not be opposed to making that a bigger spread.
You're talking a single, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, but look at how many singles we have. We don't have that many
You need
singles.
to really look hard at the family. And
Yeah, I was
employee
looking at the
spouse.
family.
Yeah,
And
the
the
employee
employee
spouse,
spouse, because that's
Yeah.
where the bulk of the.
so let's just.
well, employee spouse, then you're looking at about 30.
So
That's $630 a
30.
year.
Yeah.
Just in the family plan, saving going from low to high, if you have the ability to do it.
Yeah,
And that
So
equals
there's quite a
I
bit.
mean, that's a bigger number.
Yeah, it's,
If you
we
look-
got a pretty good spread there already. Right.
We have 30 people on a single plan. This is just the low deductible, 35 on a family, 24 employee spouse, and 10 employee children. So yeah, majority is, it goes family and then singles, employee spouse, employee children. And I think the high deductibles, there's several families on the high deductible too. I don't know the exact number, but I can think of 3 for sure off the top of my head.
I guess I look at it this way. I don't know why you wouldn't lower the rate on the higher deductible. Tell me why you wouldn't. If it's not gonna cost the county any money, if it's gonna save the county money, if we get more people to turn over to switch over. to.
Saves quite a bit more.
But we've been doing it the last couple of years. We've done this a couple times.
We're not moving the needle much.
But I
That's,
Well,
think
we
it's
probably
like-
haven't, we
Well, we
probably
didn't
haven't
lower
made,
it, we just left it alone.
yeah.
And I don't think we've communicated it very well, the significance of what that does. If you guys don't, and I'm not trying to say, since you guys have been doing this forever, but for a younger person or a person that has no idea about health insurance, trying to talk to them about health insurance is tough.
You can talk
Well-
about old farts you want to, and I hate talking about health insurance.
But there's
Well,
things that you get into the
thing
weeds and
about
it's,
it is, there's a confidence issue there. They're
Mhm.
not confident in making that change
right.
because of the unknown.
Oh, yeah. And it is an unknown
Yeah.
every single year.
But if you can make that difference significant enough per month that, they have to come up with that $1,500 deductible rate. Well, if you've already paid for the difference in the, in 8 months.
Yep.
If you've already paid for that difference in 8 months.
Yep.
Then it's a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you go to that?
Yeah.
I
Well, I
guess
think
that's
it's-
kind of the way I look at it. Does that make any sense, Zach?
I think it's peace of mind is what a lot of it is. People, they know they're covered. This is all they're gonna have to spend. And it's peace of mind. But if the dollar gap starts changing, it's gonna trigger some people, I would think.
Well, I mean, if after 8 months you start making money on your policy.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your take home,
If everything goes right. And I agree with you. Younger people, it's more of a peace of mind that they know.
Yeah, I would agree. And that's why I said the confidence thing.
'Cause
and
they-
it's tricky when you do have little snot-nosed kids running around,
Yeah.
and a lot of them, it is
Well,
tricky.
It's tricky regardless. You don't know what kind of, any major illness we're gonna have coming in the family.
Yeah, and you can't predict the unpredictable. Let's be honest, you can't.
Okay. Just saying, if you look at the low and the high, it costs you double, like deductible, out-of-pocket maximum, not quite double for office visit, but so maybe I think the gap needs to be bigger because there's a lot more risk you're taking by getting on the 1,500 if something would happen. I
Yeah.
mean, an out-of-pocket maximum for a family is $6,000 on the high deductible. It's only 3 on the low. I mean, that's huge.
That's huge.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot
You
of
can
money.
save half of that difference in the premium,
Have that difference.
then you're gonna get people to think about it more. That's my opinion. But right now, it's probably what, a quarter? You said that on the family, that's $600 or something like that.
So can we agree we're gonna freeze healthcare premiums for this year, for the budget?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I
Opposed?
don't like it one bit.
Motion carries.
Rich is gonna be on the committee.
But I do agree.
I
I
have no
think,
problem with that, and I think we should have.
yes,
And I think we should take it very serious. And
yes.
I will make a comment from, I'm gonna step out on a limb here. I got a nasty gram this weekend, and I am still hot about it. We damn well can compare our employees to what is going around on us in this county, because our employees are gonna go to work for them. They are not gonna go to work for Bremer County. They are not gonna go to work for Potawatomi County. So we can't always compare other
Other counties.
counties.
I agree with that.
And I am still hot about this one, and that is not over with yet.
And that has to do with what?
An email that I received this weekend. And I am not gonna let that dog die.
So we're talking about salaries, we're talking about insurance,
They
we're
were
talking about.
complaining about their job and all of their entities that they get.
Okay,
Okay,
moving on. Item number 6, approved payables.
Whoa, let's back up. Are we gonna do anything about a committee?
Well,
Did
Rich
we-
wants to be on it.
Did we have one before?
We did.
yeah, we did.
back
When Mark was here.
Yeah, when Mark was on the,
Okay.
He actually started that.
Well, I
And
think,
that's when we took the, that's when we actually implemented the stop loss.
Yeah.
That was a result of that. So I mean, it does work. It's good.
yeah.
Is
I
it
think
just
I agree.
supervisors we're having on this committee or are you gonna?
No. I think
No.
we should have employees, department heads.
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe
That's the
5
way it
or
was.
7 people. I really
Two
do.
supervisors and then department heads.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, Rich wants to
Zach.
be on it.
Zach,
I
would
think
you
the last time it
join
was,
us?
I think it was department heads and a couple supervisors. And we kept it at a couple supervisors just because then it wasn't.
Quorums,
an open
yeah,
meeting.
Quorum.
And then obviously if there was a decision to be made, then the committee brought that to the full board.
Right.
And maybe that's the.
An advisory committee.
We bring Clark in and
Yeah.
speak with
That's
that
when he
group
talks to them.
to
Well,
keep it away from.
And I
this.
think, and I know it's hard to do, but I think whenever you guys get something, or whoever does get something decided, we need to set off a time where the employees can come in and listen to it. I
We
know
did that
that's-
last time.
And it's hard to get that done, but we need to get that done. If it means we have to do several different meetings or whatever,
It's just, it's harder for some departments that are
I
all over
know.
the place.
but
But
you
we
know,
can make it work. I mean, we could probably
Yeah.
even do it like out at the roads department where then they could come in.
and I'm not necessarily have to say it has to be done during business hours.
You aren't gonna have anybody show
Yeah,
up.
but there may,
Business hours,
there
I'm
may
just
be
saying.
other ways to do it.
It could be.
Well, that's up to the insurance committee to make that.
I mean,
Yeah, but
Dean, are you interested in serving on it?
I'll serve on it. I mean, I have no problem. I'll do that.
We got a year, yeah, and it's just gonna take us some time, but I said, I think we should get Clark in right away. Let him sit down with the committee, shoot questions off.
Well, I would, I would like to have Clark come in the next week or 2 weeks and go over this.
Changing the deductible?
Yeah, change the premium for the deductible and how, give us some numbers, if you drop it this much, is it going to, how's that gonna affect the out of pocket and that type of thing. I think there's a lot of things, but yeah, I think he should come pretty quick so that we can determine that.
So far we've got Dean, Rich, Zach, probably get a couple more department heads, couple employees
I think
maybe.
Courtney's gotta be definitely. involved.
Yeah, if she can squeeze it in.
Who's that?
Courtney.
Courtney, yeah.
But she deals with the payroll stuff.
And I'm not saying you guys have to meet every week. It's
No, no.
just get some information, put it all together, come
I
up with
think,
some
I think
ideas.
I think quarterly is probably sufficient and just make sure that if we're determining anything that, we make sure that we get it covered so that by this time next year, we got a pretty good plan.
We have better information to make decisions.
Yeah.
on.
And if employees are communicated to, they're not gonna be shock and awe, oh, they raised it. Or didn't do anything, whatever it is.
Yep.
Okay.
And I think that insurance committee also worked on wellness plans, worked on, I know that conservation hands out stacks of trail passes to
The staff.
move it in Breda and Farner and Pella. Can we give an incentive to, and will that help our insurance by
I think
promoting wellness?
wellness should be
I
part
do-
of
I
this
think it should be.
conversation.
I do too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a lot of avenues to go.
I can bring my treadmill in.
What's that?
We have a lot of treadmills for sale in June.
There's a lot of treadmills for sale right now after those resolutions have been broken and.
So far, Courtney, we have Dean, Rich, and Zach, and you.
that's what happened.
You lucked
You
out.
shouldn't have stepped
I
out.
know,
Well,
when
Courtney,
your
I
kid
think
calls during the day, you get
I
kind of
think you
worried.
need to be involved because you're involved with the
I was
AGR.
last time, I don't have a problem with
We
that.
talked about quarterly, but getting Clark in soon and then going from
You
there.
want anybody else on there?
You could reach out to some people.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind some to see someone from the sheriff's department. They got a large quantity of people. That's where a lot of the bulk is at. I have no problem with someone from the floor upstairs too.
Like Zach and Courtney would help represent people on the family plans. So you probably. need
Yeah,
somebody
we
that
need
are
a
on the
cross
Single plans.
membership of participants.
Can you recall who was on that last?
What group would be the most
I mean, if-
singles?
I think Carrie was.
Well, I was gonna say, I thought Carrie would probably be pretty good.
If some, I don't know, maybe.
No, I mean, I think if I remember right, and I might be way off, and I might be thinking of something else, but I'm thinking that we had some union representation as well on the insurance committee. Like some of the union
Ambulance.
speakers, like reps, or not the people in Des Moines, but like the people that work for the county that are kind of the.
Union
I'm yes, I'm losing my word for it, but pretty sure we had one of those people
So if
from
we had-
each one.
Maybe if we had somebody from secondary roads as well as you and somebody from the ambulance department.
Maybe Jamie or some.
And it was probably a bigger deal back then because they could negotiate insurance back then.
Yeah, see, that's not negotiable anymore.
Right. So,
No,
but I
but
might,
their
it might
input's
still
But I
be,
do think it's
a-
important to have them involved.
Their input's about.
it might be a good idea to make sure that they know that they're being
Who's out
heard.
there now, besides Lee and who's the other one?
Ron is the other,
Okay.
Ron Denny?
yeah. I think you made a good point about having people from different walks of life as far as single versus employee, spouse versus family, because that's a lot different perspective
It
for
is,
people. So that would be a good thing, maybe try to find someone with a single plan to get their perspectives.
Yeah, can you look through the single plan and see if you can find somebody?
Oh, real easy.
Okay.
Just like, who do I want to,
Who
whose day do I
penalize-
want to make today?
Who you
Tell them
gonna
that they've
penalize the
been
most?
You're
selected.
now on a committee.
I tell you what, how about I get a list of some people that are on as singles, employee spouse, and employee children. Those would be the other three.
Yeah.
Get a list and then I'll let you guys see who's on it and then you guys can decide who
As
you
long
think
as that
would
doesn't
be.
violate HIPAA.
It doesn't.
Well, let's get the union stewards from each department too.
And they
Well,
may-
if it's
maybe,
not a big deal to the unions though.
Well, but it's probably good to have them involved, though.
Okay,
so I
At
know,
least one of them.
I know one of them from the roads department, I believe is on a single, if I remember correctly. So that might be your single
Single and
representation.
represent two
Well, I
hats.
don't know for sure.
I could get you a list though, and then you guys can look and see who you think. would be-
Well, so for now, we'll just go with what we got. There's Rich, Dean, and Zach, and you for now, and then we'll add some more.
I'd like to keep it around 7, but we could go a little bit bigger, but
Yeah, we don't want to get too many.
7's about a good number.
You don't want to get too many, either. That gets cumbersome.
Okay.
So we made a motion then to freeze the rates.
Mhm.
But
That
then,
passed.
but we may lower the high deductible, right?
discussion was,
I want to make sure that we're open to lower the. I'm doing the radio and stuff, so.
So I'll just include that possibility of considering lowering high deductible plan at a later date.
Check off for the vote again.
No, that's fine. I just want to get clarification. everything.
We all voted yes.
Yeah, and I'm gonna put that, I'm not gonna put that in the motion, I'll just put it after the motion, so it's in the minutes.
I mean, I don't want people coming back to what you said.
All right,
We'll put consider.
item number 6, approve payables.
The 9,000 on the conservation board, equipment, do you know what that is, Dean?
probably more,
More, oh, more.
yeah,
No more,
more.
less.
Well, that's what I thought.
A large weed eater.
clean my ears out here. And the Medicare expense, that's what we pay that yearly thing that, why is that split in two?
Let me look here. So that. So the 26,000, we actually paid that as a bank draft like 3 months ago,
Yeah, they
and they
never cashed
never
the check.
drafted it or took it. So we voided the bank draft and issued a check. So that's kind of a one we've already done. Well,
Jamie
back,
said they never cashed the check.
well, it was a bank draft. They
Okay.
never came in and pulled it.
Gotcha.
So what we did is we voided the bank draft, issued a check. And then, so that's kind of an old one. The 10,000 is for this, is current.
Okay, all right.
That's been paying off.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah,
And
truly has been.
while we're talking about claims here, we are still holding the one check yet for the landscaping.
It's on my desk.
We haven't gotten resolved on that. And I don't know. Ken thinks maybe we gotta release it and then argue about it later, and I don't know that I want to do that yet. Because there's a question that there's $12,000, and we did, when the value engineering did, there's 7,500 taken out. And what I got from Mike, the architect, said that if that's the case, it's a lot of rock. There's he's questioning, did they bring the grade up to the depth they're supposed to? So we've got some discussions or so.
Well, so do we have it going on here again with the correctional services? Kenneth Janning and Sons, the epoxy flooring, 2,500. Is that a capital expense or is that a budgetary?
I would assume that's a capital expense because we wouldn't be epoxy.
For the
here.
floor.
Yeah, so I guess I just. That's the only question that I have. Yeah, is-
So I know these people are looking for the money, but I think we're still wise to hold that check until we get that resolved.
Hate penalizing the vendor.
I do too, but I mean, or do we want to pay them and argue with the contractor?
The end result's gonna be the argument with the contractor, no matter how we look at it.
Well, I don't know how,
That's
I
the end
don't,
result.
when I look at the landscape out there, I don't know how that could came up to $12,000.
I know that part of that is that we added some rock over here. And Ken said he did have him throw a little up there by the air conditioning unit up there when they were at it, but he just, it wasn't that much.
Well, the only thing I know is that island in between the two drives, that was pretty deep. That was probably 1.5 foot.
Something one of those sort of
And I think that's where it's all at. So
So
it turned into all rock instead of dirt or fill and then rock.
And I only bring this up because we're talking about claims now. So do you think we
Yeah.
should go ahead and? pay
Well,
them?
I don't know. It's just,
It's kind of hard to argue the point after.
I know.
We forgot about.
I know. So let's hold it for another month.
2 weeks.
Or 2 weeks, I'm sorry. Maybe we'll get some resolution between them here and there.
Okay. With. So we'll leave that held, but now we'll make a motion to approve the claims.
We're gonna talk about the Jennings building, $2,500.
Oh, I thought you. You said that was the,
Well,
It's under
I would
correctional
think that's
services.
a capital expense as opposed to a budgetary expense. You know, that should come out of a different fund, I would think, but. Kind of like the $12,000, I guess.
They're one-time fees that.
Yeah, they did the concrete floor over there.
I don't know which fund is supposed to come out.
or you're just saying that it should be come out of a different fund?
Well, that's what I think. That was my initial thing on the $12,000, that it was coming out of this budget. And I thought it should have came out of capital.
want to change the capital coordinator?
You can,
Does that make any sense to you?
That makes-
Part of the project.
It's a one-time thing. It's,
I mean, that's a benefit to Ken, because then he's got $2,500 more in his budget to spend or carry over for the next year.
Yeah, I think we should move over the capital. You know, make that amendment.
Yeah, I'll make that amendment, that can come out of the capital budget.
with that amendment, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're to committee reports. I can go first. Mine's pretty brief. Last week had the sheriff's pre-budget. And then we had the assessor's compensation board meeting. And then I was in Des Moines Wednesday and Thursday for ISAC's university. I think it went really well. I really enjoyed probably 4 or 5 of the speakers. There was one I was a little skeptical on, but overall, I really did enjoy it. And it was nice to have that camaraderie with other supervisors from out the county and talking about things that they are doing right now and not doing. And
what about the supervisors within the county?
that was less enjoyable. Just kidding. That is it. And this week I have no official meetings except for probably I'm gonna go ahead and assume emails and phone calls.
I'll go back. Last week, I attended the Monday night meeting with Stephanie for the assessor's compensation board. Wednesday, Thursday was Des Moines. Saturday I did go to the
Legislative.
legislative forum. Thank you, Stephanie. And this week I have nothing but Carroll City Council meeting tonight.
I'll go next. Monday, sheriff's pre-budget. We had after the board meeting. And Monday night was conference board meeting, and Tuesday was CADC meeting. They basically went over their financials for the month and then nominated, approved a new board member for a term, and then also they approved the presidential appointee to the board of administrators.
Who's the new board member?
Tim Goody. We all had signed confidentiality agreements. They had a retail coach update. Talked about the legislative forums, and then also the director brought up about a rural ideas network, and I'm gonna let that Rich talk about that a little bit. And then they did discuss that Debbie Durham is going to be in town on February 8th and also in town. And then the Wednesday and Thursday is ISAC University, and I would concur with Stephanie that the speakers were all very good and very knowledgeable, and except for one was kind of, gotta have one and make it all sort of the rest are also good. And then Friday had the Yes Center board meeting. We did up our credit with all the transportation we're doing. We topped out our credit card limits, so we had people stalled trying to get gas miles and miles away from home. So we did raise that to 7,500. And we approved the financials. Our financials are good. Again, they're don't look that great, but you add the accounts receivable, which are current. There again, this month, accounts receivable was $164,000. So there's a lot of kids. The day we were up there was 10 in the place, and the day before was at 13. The next thing we talked about was the unions. We're going to settle with the 3% with the unions up there. And then also we made a motion to make belly belts mandatory on the transport. Evidently, fortunately, it wasn't our group, but one had a transported kid and didn't have a belly belt on it. Got away on them and they did a lot of there. We also did look into possibly doing some expansion of the office up there. We need to look with the state mental health office and see what they're willing to let us do. We reelected officers, and Don Cass is again chair, and Nancy McDonald is vice chair. And then the executive board is myself, Kyle Schultz, and Barry Anderson, with Rick monitoring as the alternate. Then Saturday, I did go to legislative forum. And then this week, I have the radio and newspaper. And Tuesday night, I have policy council at Head Start. And Thursday is new opportunities board meeting. That's it.
I can go next. I had the conference board meeting on, when was that, Monday night? Yeah. We all know how that went. On Thursday noon, had the Board of Health meeting. We had the term limit reappointment for 3-year term for Becky Benami. She just said she would run for another 3 years. Had the election officers. Becky, all the terms stayed the same, or all the positions stayed the same, with Becky being the chairman, Julie Hodney being vice chair, and Art Behrens secretary. The updates were, there was an update on the Stevens group. There wasn't a lot to report there. There'll be something coming here in the next couple of weeks for sure on that. New opportunities reported with Paula Clucky. Things are picking up at post-COVID. I think we're in the, for their part, they're in post-COVID. She just reported on basically we're starting to see more people, and which is what they do. Environmental health, there really wasn't much to report. There was discussion and on the contract with Crawford County and the services that we provide for them, and the issue that we have there with the funding or lack thereof. Rich, we've got a meeting tomorrow morning at 10:15. If you want to participate, if you can. With 10:15, a Zoom meeting, and Carrie will send you the Zoom link.
Yeah, you sent, I have a dentist in the morning, and hopefully I'll be done by then.
Yeah, it'd be 10:15. So
Okay.
if you're done, you're fine. If
Yeah,
not,
Howard sent it to me, please.
Yep. And so we want to see where we're going to end up there. With this situation is that those services end up costing us more than what the contract says we will be compensated for. And it's nobody's fault really. I mean, it's just that, hers is kind of a moving target, where if you have well testing and septic tanks, you don't know how many you're going to have a year. And so the contract is a fixed figure. And if you have more, there's more cost. So we're going to have that discussion tomorrow morning with the Crawford County Supervisors. Public health nursing. We got it's a little bit different kind of an update. It's not as, I would say, detailed as we've had in the past. It's more on hours. Blood pressure checks are, I don't have anything. The new report does not have anything to compare to as far as over the last couple of years, and the old report did. Immunizations, that's a number. They had 1,417 flu shots this year. COVID vaccinations, on a fiscal year basis, so we're talking from July 1 of last year, there's 900. Recently, there were, in recent months, there was 303 in November and 219 in December. As far as COVID as it sets right now, as of 123, there were 642 positive cases in the last year of COVID. That does not include any home tests, though. For the last year, there have been 58 total deaths reported. I know that the positivity rate right now is at 35%. 45 days ago, it was like at 17%, so it's basically doubled. We're seeing more COVID. Yeah, I think it's just kind of crazy.
Yeah, there you go.
Also on the public health nursing, the financial end, I don't think what his name is, Scott Ellis, I think it is, presented a financial report. For the first time ever, it's gone to the positive. It's 15,000 to the positive. But he did allude to the fact that of the time that he spent on time attributed to the review. He said he spent about a week, so 40 hours into getting answers for people for the Stevens group. I don't know how you can spend that much time when you should have those. You should just be able to come up with those numbers. So there's a little bit of confusion on that, but the public health nurse also, this is something that is, I alluded to it a little bit before, the Iowa Department of Public Health is releasing $124,655 to be used in Carroll County for IT upgrades carry out technology upgrades to ensure local public health technology systems are compatible with the state designated surveillance system and associated staff training. So this can be hardware, software, phones, automated phone triage systems to manage influx calls, and salary for internal contract staff implementing technology upgrades. So we got this, that was brought to the attention of the Board of Health on Thursday. This program, the period of performance is November 1st of last year to December 22nd of this year. However, we have to have a rough draft of what the county would like by the end of the month. So what is today? We got 6 days, 7 days. It would have been nice to have known that so that Dalton could have been working on that. So that's what he's going to be doing. I mean, surveillance means, I think the public health nurse has put in a $23,000 request for a Zoom room at St. Anthony's. Well, I think the Board of Health thought, well, geez, it would be nice if the conference room at the Fricky building had Zoom capabilities as well. So I think that's going to be one of them. The other one is tablets, maybe for the Board of Health members. Another one that Dalton thought was, if we're talking surveillance, he could upgrade cameras in the courthouse. He could, there's different things that he can use some of those dollars for as well. So he's gonna come up with, between Board of Health and the public health nurse and IT here, we're gonna come up with something. And they just have to put the request in by by the end of the month. And then you can either pull out or whatever. If it's too much, if you don't want, figure you don't need it. I think it's, you use up the dollars that you got. And then if there's anything that they don't like, they'll kick out. But it'll probably be more than what we had before. So that's why I made the comment that I think they're gonna keep coming up with things to use up this COVID dollars. It sounds like a lot of counties don't have anything, hardly have anything to use their, $24,000 or whatever. They're $124,000. And I'm sure it varies per county what it is, but a lot of them aren't gonna use it. So it'll go back. And so there'll still be more money that will probably be able to go out. So that was probably one of the biggest things about the whole meeting. There were home care aides. Basically, Megan reported on her budget, and that was basically it for her. I would say that environmental health care did report on her budget as well. Then on Friday, had North Raccoon River Waterman Management Coalition meeting at Swan Park. The executive committee got a lengthy email the night before on from a gentleman who represents the supervisors of Palo Alto County. And it was about how we could not conduct our meeting on Friday because of the executive committee was breaking the law as far as the 2080 agreement. That this was a gentleman his name has come up before, Don Etler, from up in northern part of the state. His thing is that according to the 2080 agreement, everyone should have been, every 4 years, you need to turn over staff, your directors. And so that's what the 2080 agreement says, and it does say that. But a bunch of supervisors said, well, you know what, we get appointed to these positions every year. So, it's up to the Board of Supervisors to determine whether or not. I guess from now on, we can remind them that the 2080 does say that. And so if you want to change, if you want to abide by the 2080 agreement, then that's what we're going to have to do. So that was kind of a new wrinkle, and we had to resolve that prior to the meeting so that we could vote on the minutes and the agenda. But the resolution was that all the Board of Supervisors basically felt that they make a good faith effort to abide by the 2080 agreement, but it's not always possible to do so. So it proceeded, but I mean, just keep dealing with this. It just never goes away with that group. Mike Shannon from Ducks Unlimited was one of the presenters, and he spoke on a lot of funding dollars that come from Ducks Unlimited, some projects. They've got a map of the Raccoon River watershed and all the spots where they would like to put wetlands in, and how they go about doing they use LiDAR and how they determine where good spots for wetlands should be to increase duck habitat. And so a lot of it does coincide with some nutrient reduction strategies that the management, the watershed management could incorporate into their plans. So it was a good thing. They've got a lot of money available. They spend a lot of money. They spent a lot of money up at the Black Hawk Lake for that inlet. And so that was beneficial actually to the Raccoon River. So there's going to be more discussion there. And Kara Morgan for the East-West Nishnabotno Watershed Management, she gave a talk on some of the things that they're doing over there. The big thing was Jonathan Gano, the chairman, presented a discussion that he's had with, and basically the whole executive committee with the Iowa Department of Natural Resources and the EPA. And I think I touched a little bit on that in the past about the 41 and the 48% nutrient reduction plans. And that since we did go with 48%, that we do qualify for 319 funding. And because of that, there was Kyle Ament from the Iowa DNR said that we can use those, we can apply for funding to have a coordinator. And they will fund a coordinator from now until up to 15 to 20 years. And so that's a good thing. We were wondering how that was going to happen, but so I think that the coalition is going to move forward on that. And there's also 319 funding available as well for projects. Then there's always the Iowa Soybean Association, who is Theo Gunther made a presentation on back in April of 2020. There was $9.8 million awarded to the North Raccoon River, $9.8 million for projects. And it's a 5-year project to be done on the North Raccoon. This would include 50,000 acres of cover crops, 19,000 acres of reduced tillage, 22 bioreactors, 20 oxbow wetland restorations, 25 saturated buffers, and 5 nutrient removal wetlands. So these are all well and good, but these are projects that Zach can probably say are really difficult to get cooperation from. So it's a $9.8 million project, but after the 5 years, it'll probably be $5 million still sitting there. But it is money that can be used if there's somebody who's willing to stick the time into making it happen. That was last week. This week, the Board of Health has a meeting on Wednesday to discuss the IT funding, IDPH IT funding project. And then on Wednesday night, there's an EMA joint 911 Emergency Management Coalition and Management Commission meeting to discuss the budget. So that was last week. This is this week. That's it. For me.
All right, last Monday, all I have is the conference board. Besides the board supervisor meeting Tuesday, at a chamber meeting. You want me to go into something on that?
Yeah, just that rural thing. You want to go into that now?
About
That doing that. What the director talked about trying to get into that cost.
not right now.
Okay.
And then Wednesday, I had a Zoom on Iowa Workforce. Iowa Workforce is ran its head right square against the wall. And we have quite a bit of problems. 6 of the 9 regions have been denied their plan. 1 of the regions was approved. 2 were approved with additional information to be given, but no instructions on what that information is.
Sounds clear.
The 6 of the 9, the person that's helping with all of those regions has had a head-on collision with Beth Townsend before. We think that they are going to withhold $8.9 million from us, so they can go to 1 or 2 regions and they can control it by themselves. This was originally designed to spread out local control a little better. So I will be spending lots of time this week trying to talk to the legislative people that we know, trying to get them to start digging into it. We have some problems, lots of problems. We have to have this completed by April 8th. And basically they handed us back the form and said, here, fill it out. Well, what did we do wrong? Here, fill out the form. So we're getting no guidance of any kind. So we did look at the one that was approved. It had 76 pages. 48 of them were basically state information that they already have. So if they want us to fill them with paperwork, I guess that's what we need to do. I don't know the right answer. Wednesday, after the workforce, I went to ISAC. Interesting one at ISAC. 2 things. It sounds like could get triggered this year in some form. There's a lot of what ifs there yet, but might want to keep the eye up on the ball on that one. Let's talk about resolutions. Quorum of the board, 5-person board, quorum of the board. Resolution 2-1. Did it pass?
No,
You are right. I thought we got a quorum, it should pass. Has to be a quorum of the voting members of the board, so it has to be at least 3 of the 5. Would never have guessed that. I would have thought the 2-1 would have
the
been enough.
motion's different.
Motion stays, but the
Motions are
resolution's
different than
different.
resolution. Here's what the resolution was about. It was about a hog confinement. They have 1 day grace to make this work. If they do not get it passed the next meeting, the master matrix is completely open in the entire county for 12 months. You cannot decide anything from the board of supervisors.
The board of supervisors can't decide anything.
They don't, you have no control over it. Whatever, if it passes a DNR on the master matrix, it's going in. It might be 20 feet from your house.
So the resolution was to pass the master.
Yes, and one of them got some pressure from some relatives and
2-1,
no,
and that does not fly. It's got to be 3-2.
it's got to be the 3. So, and I learned quite a little bit from that conversation. Like, wow, that could be a mess. They have 1 day's grace. They have to pass it on the next meeting or they're going to lose control of their master matrix for a year.
So that would be for any resolution then. So if you didn't have
Yeah.
5 people here,
Yeah,
well, if you had 3,
and they all voted for
yeah,
it, it would pass.
it would pass. If there were 3
But you
people
have
here.
1 no.
Yeah, if you had 1 no,
Correct.
Fails.
I would never have guessed that, but that's why we have 4. Okay, that was
I don't know
interesting.
much, but I do know some.
That was pretty interesting conversation. Saturday, I did attend the legislative forum. This week, this morning, I already had another Zoom meeting on how we're going to move forward with this mental health that's where we've kind of decided we're gonna start bugging our legislatures a little harder. Try to get them involved. Wednesday, I have a mental health meeting. And that is it for me, except for maybe the environmental health. I'll probably try to jump in on that Zoom this week also.
All right. Gunnar Dalton, is there any comments online?
I didn't see any.
All right, and Courtney?
I take that back. There's some foreign language I can't read that somebody made a comment.
Let's pass it to Jean.
So next week, what I have right now is the IT quarterly report and his budget. I'm guessing I'll probably have several department budgets next week.
Oh, since we did that.
Yeah, well, since now the insurance is finalized, but I've gotten a lot too, so we'll get those done. And luckily, they don't take very long, so we should be able to get a lot of departments done.
Nonprofits are waiting on Manning Daycare and Soil and Water yet.
Soil, Water, Manning Daycare, St. Anthony, and the libraries.
Manning? Rita hasn't been in either.
Rita came in.
Oh, that's right.
Manning
So
had
if they
to
don't come
reschedule.
in,
What I normally do if they don't come in is just put in the same like, because they've submitted their requests already, except for Soil and Water. Well, they may have. I shouldn't speak for that. The hospital has given us nothing. The libraries have given nothing. If they don't give us anything, something like that, you could just put in there whatever it was last year. And then Manning's already requested funds.
Manning Daycare.
Yeah, they've already got the request in, she just hasn't been here to present it, so I usually just put in what was left from last year and let you guys decide when you're doing the nonprofits, what you're gonna fund it at. And if you choose not to fund it because it didn't come in, so be it.
in order for a motion to adjourn,
So move.
Second.
motion and second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.